Okay, so if we can start with the simple one, how did you get involved in the IT industry? In other words, did you always want to do that, or was you done other things and then arrived there? Just your sort of journey into the IT space.
So I started my career at PayPoint, which is a cash payments business. Kind of just fell in there by chance. I didn't really know what they did. And the more I kind of got involved in the dealing with clients and understanding clients' needs, I really started to enjoy the element of payment processing, although it's cash, and kind of understanding the needs of people needing to pay their bills and the technology behind that, where the terminal needed to work to be able to do that. So I started to enjoy that and did a couple of years, 4 years at PayPoint. And the opportunity came up to move over to PayByPhone not long after PayPoint bought the business. So they bought the business back at the start of 2011. They bought PayByPhone at the start of 2011, and they wanted to set up a really small team to look after the UK side of the PayByPhone business. And what they did was just move people over from PayPoint over to PayByPhone. So the opportunity came up to take a really junior client exec role there, reporting into a couple of previous managers I'd worked for at PayPoint. So I went for the interview kind of to understand what it was going to be, because I had done 4 years in cash payments and understanding that element of client and customer needs. And when I started to hear about PayByPhone and it being a payments app, and it was a payments telephone line at the time, and there was an app that sat behind it, but back in 2011 apps on your phone that allowed you to pay for things were still quite new, and the technology behind that was really emerging at that time. So I thought it would be a really interesting time to get involved in more of a tech side of the business. The other thing that really interested me was the fact that at the time when I joined, there was only 7 people based in the UK, and around about 60 clients, a couple of big London boroughs at the time as well. And so I knew that by joining a small business, as it was almost like a startup in the UK at the time, I would really have to get involved in all levels of the business. So although client management and understanding client needs is the part of my career that I was really trying to progress, actually getting involved in the technical side of how the app works, how it's structured in the back end to allow customers to be able to pay in the front end, was something I was really intrigued with. So went for the interview, got the job, and I've been at PayByPhone now coming up to 11 years in a few weeks' time.
Okay, and in terms of the during that career, the challenges you've faced, would you say those are sort of just normal career challenges, or were you aware that your gender might have been an issue in various situations, or was that not being an issue?
I think initially moving into the role, because it was so small, the company was so small, and we all had to kind of get involved in everything. Really, I didn't see any kind of anything to do with gender that was either kind of a hindrance or an enhancement. It was all just 7 people really trying to make a business grow and do what we needed to do. There wasn't any females in the leadership team at the time, because it was so small. The leadership team was only really made of a couple of people. So for me, when I was thinking of my career progression at that time, I wouldn't have looked at our leadership team and thought, I can definitely see myself on there in 8-9 years time, because there was no one like me that was represented. And what I've found as the business has grown, so we're now just under 40 employees in the UK, much more globally, but obviously I'm in the UK element of the PayByPhone business. What I've seen in my time here is that there's definitely been times where you've had to fight more to get some recognition in what you need, and to find the career path for me. So after I had my son, I came back to work in April 2014, and I came back part-time, and I definitely found that struggle, the balance of working part-time, having had nearly a year out on maternity leave, and coming back to work, and the juggle of being a new mum, looking after my clients and understanding the changes in the business, the progression in how the business has moved, even in the first few years of being a PayByPhone, was huge. When I first joined, everyone would pay for their parking on the telephone, so you would phone up and pay, and the mobile website was very, very new. I came back in 2014, and they were starting to develop the first real mobile payments app for us. And so for me, I found it such a challenge to be part-time, also trying to get my head around coming back from a year out, and I really had to kind of immerse myself and ask for help where I needed it. And sometimes that was worked out and sometimes it didn't. It's definitely been something I've seen through my career improve here at PayByPhone, and something that I'm really passionate about, because I don't want anyone in the position that I was in 8-9 years ago to feel like that now, to feel like you're coming back from maternity leave or you're working a part-time role and you don't have the same benefits and chances given to you as someone who is full-time and maybe hasn't had to take that year out for maternity leave. So something I'm quite passionate about to try and change within the business and also the wider industry, whether that's through the Women in Parking forum that we have, or even something like Women in Tech, something even broader than just parking.
Okay, and in terms of, you say that there was, that, I'll call it an issue, but obviously coming back from maternity, that was something you had to deal with. But in terms of overall, do you think the industry has, in the time you've been involved, you've seen definite improvements in the workplace when it comes to looking after women and other sort of diversity groups, or is this, you still think there's a way to go?
I've seen huge improvements in the area for sure, but I think there's lots we can still do to improve the environment for anyone in any kind of minority group that wants to get into tech. As I mentioned, groups like the Women in Tech and the Women in Parking, although they're specifically named Women in Parking, they're open to anyone that would like to join and understand what's going on and perhaps some of the issues we find being more of the minority groups in this industry, to help us progress really in our careers. So in PayByPhone, we introduced a scheme called the Aspiring Leaders Scheme, fundamentally to make sure that we are encouraging everybody in any role in our business to really get involved and step up and become a leader within business, within the industry. And for me, I was put onto that in 2019, so I was kind of just finding my feet and trying to see where I fit into the industry. And it came at a perfect time for me because it allowed me to step out of my comfort zone, learn skills around how to be a real leader in the business and the industry in general. And honestly, I think without these kind of work-based training programs, I may not be in the position that I am now in the business and also in the industry. So I found schemes like this, and we're not the only business to be offering these kind of leadership schemes, are really great at encouraging all kinds of people to step up, but particularly for myself, women in the industry who are still the minority in the tech industry. Something like a scheme where you're encouraging people to step up, engage more in what's going on, and really kind of step out of your comfort zone somewhat, which is what I had to do with it. Really helped me and has seen me grow in my career in the last few years. So when I went on to Aspiring Leaders, I was a senior client manager and really wasn't too sure where I fit. Did I want to stay in the client management element? Did I want to stay in tech at all? Had I kind of had enough? Because I wasn't seeing very much progression. It's hard in a smaller business to see as much perhaps as you would like, but even in general, I just wasn't seeing anyone around me. Didn't look into our leadership team and see people that looked like me or had to deal with the same balance that I had being a single working mum. I couldn't look into our leadership team and see that there. So I was questioning whether this was the right industry for me to stay in at that time, and the Aspiring Leaders came along, and I managed to get a place on there. And honestly, I can say it changed my outlook on my career, what I was actually capable of doing, and also has changed my outlook on how I can help encourage other people, other women, particularly in the same situation, who really want to grow and step out of their comfort zone, but perhaps don't know how. After I completed that course, I moved on to be the head of client management. And then after only about 18 months, I had the promotion to be the client director for the UK. And I honestly attribute my progression in my career and my, I guess I refound my love for the industry through starting that training and really having time to invest in myself and seeing that the business as well investing in me, seeing something in me that perhaps I couldn't see in myself before I started that training course.
And in terms of thoughts or advice for people who are looking at the IT industry, whether they're in the education system or they're maybe already in the workplace and thinking of career change or whatever, any thoughts as to ways of going about it or what to look out for as you're trying to get into the industry?
I think for me, it's really making sure it's something that you're passionate about. I think if you just go into a job and it isn't something that you're really interested in and you want to understand, then it's just going to be a job. Whereas I really wanted to find a career, I wanted to find something that I loved. And I think testament to PayByPhone, having been here for 11 years, the culture of where we are has grown so much. It's become somewhere where you want to come and work, you want to see the product succeed. When we ask people, why do you like working here, like, you know, feedback as to why you want to be in this company, in this industry, it really is the fact that it feels like you're actually providing something that can help somebody. It feels like by making sure that, in our example, that our app works as well as it can do, and we take feedback and we make sure that we make enhancements, you're actually making people's days easier, you're making people's days better. We also have a really great green agenda, and for me that fits with my own personal agenda as to care about the environment, and so working somewhere that aligns with your moral values for me was really important. And IT and tech is so broad, so it's about, I guess, finding that area that is really niche. And I guess, as boring as it sounds, I quite enjoy the parking element of the IT, because you're problem solving, you're finding some problems. Nobody likes parking, no one likes having to pay for parking especially, and so I guess what we're here to do, and what I really thrive on when I'm dealing with our clients, is what needs to change, how can we improve it and make this better, what elements of the app, what elements of any of the other IT, whether it's the back office we provide, can we enhance and improve that will make clients' life better or make the customer's life better. So for me, being really engaged, wanting to make a difference, and finding somewhere that aligns with your moral values and where you see yourself going has been really important. It doesn't necessarily need to be about a huge chance to progress your career, because I think any role, whether you're in it for 18 months or 18 years, you're going to see career progression. Some companies just don't have the bandwidth for you to grow and expand as much as you would like. And again, I guess that's why things like inspiring leaders, or the groups that you can get involved in, maybe outside of your own role, can be really great, because you can see other areas, you can make connections. It might be that you'll find your next role just by connecting with someone at a forum that's of a similar interest to something that you're already working in.
Okay, and then maybe just as we sort of finish, thoughts. You've been in the industry for a while. I'm sure you observe things that you like about it, and maybe some like. So if there were one or two things that you could change or improve, or you know, stop something happening or whatever, just any thoughts as to what, you know, if you had that magic wand and could do something, what sort of things do you think need to be done, whether that's, you know, gender specific or just more generally for the industry?
I think shouting about people's achievements could be done much more in our industry. I think sometimes people don't like to speak up when they've had a great result, or they've seen a brilliant answer to something that perhaps that they've raised, or maybe something that they've developed themselves and put out there. So I think as leaders in the IT industry, we really have an obligation to make sure that we are shining spotlight on our employees, and we're making sure that they're getting credit where they're working on fantastic projects, and we're also really making sure that they know what their path forward is in the world, whether that's in the just in the business you're in or in their wider program. So with my team, what I'll tend to do is more one-on-one career planning progression, understanding what else they need. We do individual development plans, helping them understand what they need, and helping me understand what I can deliver. So I think if we could do a better job at really understanding our employees in the sector, what makes them tick, what they would like to see more of. Listening, feedback is a really important one too. I think if we're getting feedback and we're making changes based on the feedback we're getting, then hopefully we'll just continue to succeed, particularly with growing women in the tech industry, hearing maybe more quieter voices who are a little bit reticent to speak up. Maybe if we're encouraging all voices to speak up and we're listening to everybody, we'll start to make some really big leaps in getting some more women in high profile positions in tech businesses.
Okay, that's lovely. I mean, it's been good to chat to you, and thanks for sharing some thoughts. So Rebecca, thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.